The drivers for Papakura to Drury are really to provision for the future growth in the south of Auckland. It's predicted there's going to be about 40,000 houses over the next 30 years, and associated with that there's increase in business, in services, and that's going to drive increase in traffic. So the project is really to allow for that growth around Takanini, Papakura, Drury and Pairata. The project is located just to the south of Auckland on State Highway 1, the main highway north-south, between Papakura and Drury, and it provides an additional lane in each direction, along with 4 kilometres of shared use path and associated utility relocations and bridges to provide for that works.
So for consenting on Papakura to Drury, we very much had to look at how we were going to stage the project, as we do with most infrastructure projects. We needed to make sure that we had a spade in the ground as quickly as possible, and the way that we did that was working with Stage 1A to make sure that our design and our consenting was all focused on the existing state highway designation. Part the way through our consent preparation for Stage 1B, we were faced with COVID-19 and the COVID-19 recovery fast-track legislation. So we had to pivot in terms of how we were preparing that application and go from an RMA process through to an untested piece of legislation being the first fast-track legislation. We continued through Stage 1B1 and into Stage 1B2, and we consented both of those under the first fast-track legislation in New Zealand. Mana Whenua are the project partners on Papakura to Drury, and in this particular case we had a site of cultural significance right in the middle of one of our stages. So we needed to work very hard at the very beginning of the project to establish some genuine sound relationships that we had to have in place before we could start working out what the design was and how the consenting was going to be done.
Aurecon have delivered a wide range of services. We started on the project back in 2019, and since then we've provided design, statutory planning, stakeholder and comms management, procurement documentation and contract documentation, and then surveillance and quality assurance services on site.
State Highway 1 is one of the busiest networks in the country, so one of the key considerations for the client was to make sure we minimise disruption to the customer and also the neighbouring community. When we inherited the project, the scope was just to provide widening in the southbound direction as part of Stage 1A, and that would be the original construction contract that would be let. We saw an opportunity to widen in the northbound as well. The team did a whole heap of value engineering and found an opportunity to widen on both sides, which meant minimising disruption to the user because the constructor had more space to shift traffic around. That also freed up space for the constructor to build it in a safer manner, and it also meant that the works wouldn't be completed and then the constructor would have to go back in 4 years' time and open it up again and create more disruption. So we managed to accelerate the project and provide those benefits to the customer earlier than what was originally anticipated.
The 3 bridges over the North Island main trunk line were identified as being a constraint on the project. Early on in the planning stage, working with KiwiRail and NZTA, we identified that line was going to be electrified, and there were considerable benefits to constructing the bridges before that electrification took place. Working with Fulton Hogan and NZTA collaboratively, we developed a solution that brought those works forward to allow a reduced construction duration, a reduced cost and safety benefits of not working near an overhead electrified railway line. We've had some quite complex challenges, and I think I'm really proud of the solution that we've collectively developed.